great practice today.
Oh, thanks.
One thing that stood out to me, I saw that you were hard on Kiki and a few other players. How important is it for that? Just for them to feel that pressure.
Well, I think that, 2 reasons. One is we need to make practices harder than it's going to be in the games. We know that pressure is going to rise, and we know that pressure is a privilege. But you have to lean into the fire ahead of time if you're going to be ready for it in the game. And so that's the first part, is that we know what's coming and we need them to be prepared. Secondly is it always starts with our point guards. I'm always hardest on Kiki, E, and London, and they make us go. And so, to much is given, much is required. And so I just, and they really embrace that. They don't want me to lower the standard. They want to be held to the highest standards, so it's important that it always starts with them.
And one thing I want to ask you, how do they respond to it? Do they play better? I see they don't get bothered by it.
Well, I think that's my job, right? Is that I do it a little differently with E than I do with Kiki, than I do with London. I think, the standard never changes, but the manner in which I hold it has to do with the relationship with the individual and knowing what I know about them. So it's a little different with each individual person.
Did you ask Jordan to come back, or did she come back?
Yeah, no, both her and Charisma and Kennedy Burke have all asked to come back and practice with us, and what a great, thing for our current players to be able to see the legacy that they've brought. And no, I had nothing to do with it. In fact, Pam is the one. She reached out to Pam, our director of operations, and said, hey, I'd like to come back and work out with the team, and she's next door getting skill work in. And that's been one of the great things about this place, is that it's a place they all want to come back to and they all want to continue to contribute with. So it was great to have Jordan Canada home.
It looks like Kiki's getting healthier, but you have to have E too. So
yeah.
What is the benefit of developing E now and having a really good point guard?
Well, I said when Kiki got hurt, I said the silver lining to this, of course we would rather not Kiki ever have an injury, right? But the silver lining is E is going to be forced into positions and places and experiences that maybe she wouldn't have been forced to otherwise. And the reality is that she has grown leaps and bounds. 11 assists and 1 turnover against an SEC team, against Arkansas. How she started against Louisville and then having to come back in the second half and rebound and really lead us. I just think that we're going to look back on those first 4 games when it was only E, and London helped out a lot too with that. But we're going to look back in March and go, thank goodness we had that time. And she's different because of it.
He's hurt you, obviously. You guys were handling that minute restriction on Kiki last week. Do you have any idea where that's at?
Yeah, don't ask. I haven't asked. I'm hoping there's not one, but I actually don't know for sure. But I'm hoping that she's going to have the reins off, but I have not been told yet by our medical staff.
And then as far as other housekeeping days, any other injuries going on?
No, not that. I think we're pretty good. We were conservative with Gab for a second, but I think she'll be fine. And so I think we're going into a good place.
But 2 years ago, UCLA lost to South Carolina in the 6-tone.
Yeah, and earlier that year.
Yes.
So,
How has this team grown since then, and how have you grown as a coach since then?
Well, I hope every year that if I expect them to grow every offseason, I hope that it starts with me. I remember the press conference after the Sweet 16 when they beat us and thinking, man, I have to grow in some areas. I have to be able to put this team in different and better situations given what I've learned about them. So I think that, every year, this is my 14th year here, I think I'm, there's all kinds of little things every time. You don't have enough time to hear all of the deep dive I've done in the off season. But I think our players, I think there's a different level of confidence. I think we have more depth and versatility than we had, and we shoot the ball better, which affects our spacing, which then allows us to take advantage of Lauren Betts in a different way. We didn't have that kind of combination. We did not have that kind of combination in that game.
A big weekend for women's basketball.
Oh my gosh!
USC playing Notre Dame. You guys playing the number 1 team.
Yeah.
You all are the 5th seed in the nation. What are your thoughts about this hype around winning the basketball for this particular?
Well, I think that is tremendous. I think that's maybe my favorite part about this weekend is what it can do not only for all 4 of the programs participating, but for women's basketball as a whole and Southern California basketball specifically. I just think we're so fortunate. I'm calling it Final Four in November, right? Is that level of game, that level of exposure, that level of notoriety 2 sold out crowds. We're sold out, USC's sold out. And then I even think, going back, the Lakers were sold out last night. And I think about how many people in LA are excited about basketball, and specifically this weekend, women's basketball.
You've been a huge advocate. I've been
You have. You've been amazing.
You've been speaking on it even before the hype started.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the overall growth of women's basketball? Where do you see it going with all the high school players that are
I think you go even lower than high school. You're talking about, YMCA teams and, youth basketball and AAU, and then high school. Like, there's an enthusiasm, and, representation is a powerful thing, and it looks a lot of different ways in a lot of sectors of life. And I remember wanting so badly growing up to have a woman to look up to model my game after. And, I think about what these little girls are being able to see, both in the college level as well as the professional level. And I'm so excited about the WNBA hire with the Sparks and Lynn Roberts, and how we're going to work together as well. But it's a new era of women's basketball and women in sports. And for someone who's been in it a long time, I could pinch myself. I'm so excited. And I actually think we're just scratching the surface. And we need to keep covering it. We need more eyeballs and continuing to broaden and deepen coverage and tell the stories. We need more corporate sponsors to get involved and to really see this as a valuable investment. And then we just need the media deals to continue to grow and reflect the great investment that it is.
Earlier this week, your colleague on the men's side, McCrory, he mentioned that on the men's game, the marquee matchups for the conference
are MTEs.
Yeah, they're played at neutral sites. How big is it, not just for the women's game, but for basketball as a whole, to have this game against South Carolina at home?
Well, there's a thing right now that we're talking about in athletic departments, donor fatigue, right? Because you've got NIL that you're raising money for, you've got cost of attendance, you've got ticket sales, you've got all these things. And I think it's really hard to ask your fans to seat tax and all these premium seating things if you don't bring them good games at home. That being said, we have reality of NIL money that's coming from these MTE neutral site games. It's the same on the women's side. But I think what we're trying to do is have a balance of both. We're probably going to have more of them than neutral sites than home, but not only neutral sites. I want to have a marquee game like this at home every year in non-conference. And then you combine that with the Big Ten schedule, you got some special games to give your fans. And we got to give something back to our fans, that we're asking so much of them, both as donors and attendants, that we got to give them something to get excited to watch.
South Carolina could be your biggest test so far this.
Of course.
What are some of the other little tests that you've had that cleared you?
Well, I think Louisville was a great test in terms of style. They trapped ball screens, they blew up handoffs, they picked us up full court. They were a great rebounding team. That's exactly what we're going to need against South Carolina. I think other teams gave us different looks. Arkansas was really good in terms of how they spread you out, how they run in transition, and how they doubled the post. But I think the most parallel is going to be the Louisville matchup and how they played us, and how I think South Carolina will play us as well.
Is there do you see influence on these international replay?
Yeah.
How does that kind of change things?
Well, I think that, the thing that's so interesting about E is that she took a gap year, and graduated early and played professionally as an amateur, which is somewhat common, but she played at the highest levels. And I just think that brought in a maturity about her and an experience that very few college freshmen have. And so we're just really thrilled. She has an incredibly high basketball IQ, but I'll tell you, she is our second fastest player on the team. Most people don't realize that. She is a great athlete. I clipped out a layup that she had against Arkansas, and she is about 3 inches from the rim in where she's coming. She's got ups. Yeah, I mean, she's deceptively athletic. And so, but I just think she comes in with her challenges are the game is probably more physical, and she's getting pressured more than she did in Europe. But the reality of what she sees and what she reads, she is mature beyond her years.
Oh, my bad. Obviously, you guys bring a level of professionalism day in and day out. You guys, we talk a lot about the mission and the process.
Yeah.
That being said, is there a different level of intensity going into Sunday? Is it, do you feel it?
Well, yeah. I mean, these kids, this is what they dreamed about. So I actually, in spending time, we call it our warrior dial. We're trying to get their warrior dial down, breathe. We're not going to have to. There's no motivational speeches needed for a game like this. And at the same time, this is not our season. This is a step in our season of growth, of experience. I want us to play with incredible focus and competitiveness, but I want us to be completely process-oriented. The outcome of this game, win or lose, will not determine the whole season. And so it's imperative that we get better. But we want to stay process-oriented, right choices, being the most prepared team, getting tougher every day, having a growth mindset, no matter who we play. Okay?
So my last question is, you got a lot of players that's in the W right now.
Yeah.
What is it for them to do to come
So
back
great.
and get back? And how do you feel like you prepared them for the league? Why am I playing well?
Well, I think that I hire amazing staff. That's one of the things. My coaching staff is so elite that I am so fortunate. In fact, Jordan Canada said, "Coach, you're getting soft." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're just sitting down when they're teaching." And I said, "I got good staff. Why would I get in their way?" But I think that so much credit goes to our assistant coaches, and they just are spectacular. And we have a parallel mission to have championship habits and to have a chance to compete at the highest levels in college, and to have a player development program that truly prepares them for the next level. And so we're really committed to that. So it's really fun to just be a fan of them and to enjoy them. And then not only in playing, but coaching. Natalie Nakase and Noelle Quinn will be back for the game. And we're celebrating them as head coaches in the W. And then, obviously the players that are in the W and playing well, like having Jordan Canada back and Charisma Osborne and Kennedy Burke, I think is going to be at the game. And, the list goes on and on. But when you get a chance, this program is not about us. It's about teaching, mentoring, and equipping for life beyond UCLA. And then when they get to do and experience their dreams, that's just a joy to watch.
Thanks so much.
You got it. All right, you guys good?
Yes.
All right, thank you guys.
Appreciate that. Good luck.